There is nothing wrong with your internet. Do not attempt to adjust your settings. We are controlling the podcast. We control the squealing and the screams. We can make your heart flutter, your eyes blur from tears, or sharpen your mind to crystal clarity. For the next hour, sit back. We are in control of what you hear. We repeat, there is nothing wrong with your settings. You are about to experience the awe and mystery known as the female mind. You are now entering the Fangirl Zone.
Rarely going where no one has gone before. Welcome to the Captain Chair, a Star Trek Lower Decks podcast on the Fangirl Zone. I'm Richard Dave, and joining me on this mission into the unknown is...
I'm Steve, and tonight we'll be discussing episode 4 of Star Trek Lower Decks.
My favorite episode of the season thus far.
I think I have to agree with you. They really nailed this one big time.
The pacing was perfect. It was spot on. None of the jokes were rushed. Everything just worked. It was spontaneous. It was clever. I loved it.
Yes.
And a quick what? Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, I definitely agree with what you said. It was definitely a very tight episode, and it seems like McMahon is hitting his stride here.
Yeah, it exuded.
Yes.
Among the other moist things on that vessel. Confidence. It exuded confidence.
Yes.
They showed they were ready to step it up, and I was getting a little worried last episode.
Right. Yeah, this ought to be a fun ride for the rest of the season, that's for sure.
How long is the season? I should know that.
10
but
episodes.
10 episodes.
Yep.
All right. So we'll be halfway there.
Yep.
And I'll be half sad.
Yeah. We'll be that much closer to Discovery Season 3, so.
Yeah. That's October, right?
Yes.
It's October. Yeah. Oh, boy. No rest for the weary.
Nope. Thank God. Do have a little bit of news. CBS did announce that Season 1 of Discovery will be playing on your local channels this fall. So if you haven't signed up for All Access, you can at least catch the first season of Discovery.
You wonder why I subscribe to all these things.
Well, I think the pandemic had something to do with it. With everything being shut down, some of their shows that they had planned to have on the fall didn't quite get completed. So they're giving some people something new to watch that probably hadn't seen it before. So
good.
I think it was a smart move.
Yeah. Stupid pandemic.
Yeah.
I'd rather have everything turn into a moist vessel than having to go through this again. Yeah. God. All right. Speaking of episode 4, Captain Freeman seeks the ultimate payback after Mariner blatantly disrespects her in front of the crew. A well-meaning Tendi accidentally messes up Lieutenant's attempted spiritual ascension and tries to make it right. Oh my God, that part was hilarious too.
Oh, it was. Now, in the opening, we see the Cerritos is working alongside the USS Merced in the relocation of an ancient generation ship, which due to some unknown calamity never reached its destination, which probably was a good thing. The most precious cargo, mysterious containers of molecular fluid which generates life from inorganic material. That was interesting.
Yeah.
And, of course, the Merced Captain Durango and Freeman both served on the Illinois many years ago. So we kind of get the feeling that maybe they were in competition with each other at that time. So there might be a little something going on there.
Or somebody had a little fanboy crush on Carol.
Right. Now that could be too.
Well, her picture was up on his in a bridge. I think he was staring at it too.
That was a little odd.
Do you think they'll, do you have any opinion if they're going to revisit the ancient generation ship? I mean, it's got a joke in because it leaked everywhere, but
right.
But you think they'll revisit it?
I think it's something that they could keep in their back pocket and use it sometime in the future. Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me a bit. I mean,
the main mystery of having all those mummified people in there really never got spoken. What if are they dead? Did they say they were dead?
Yes.
No, it's just
the cryo chambers
failed.
Yeah.
I was thinking if this stuff leaked and they had can make life forms out of inorganic material, then what if it leaked into the vessels there itself, the chambers, and started animating all the corpses?
Right, yeah. That
In a friendly,
would be interesting.
Yeah, in a friendly, happy way, of course, like flower children.
And this was actually our first opening sequence that actually had something to do with the main plot of the story. So
yeah,
it felt almost like a normal, regular Star Trek episode there.
Yeah. When you break to the music and then you have to go to commercial and you're like, oh, I can't wait to get into this. You got the tease and now I want it to fill it out.
Right.
Shall we talk a little bit about the yawning chasm between mother and daughter?
Very good, yeah.
So we start out with Captain Freeman's briefing her senior officer about the mission regarding the generation ship in the conference room. She's interrupted by Ensign Mariner, who lets out a loud yawn. She is something else.
Oh, yes, she is.
What a piece of work. Oh, my goodness. I'm watching her, and I'm trying to stifle my own yawn. I'm like, stop yawning. You're killing me. And her mother just, is like freaking out. I'm surprised she was able to keep it together. I mean, she was bad, but she didn't like discipline her, not like a fellow officer, but like her daughter, and just scream at her just there and then. Kudos for not phasering her too.
Right.
Oops, did that go off? Sorry.
Yeah, throwing her out the airlock.
Yeah, I know. Only a mother can say that.
Yeah.
So Carol, I'm going to call her Carol from now on, orders her to distribute the PADs, the PADDs, to her senior officer and Captain Durango, a Tellarite, so they can continue the briefing. I knew I recognized what a Tellarite looked like. I saw him like, okay, yeah. I recognize this guy. Yeah. They don't seem that, no slight intended to the Tellarites. Right. They don't seem like a spacefaring type of race.
Yeah.
They seem chair-bound. Anyway, just my opinion. Sorry to all our Tellarite listeners out there. So Mariner keeps yawning, which is awesome, insults Durango, and he accuses Freeman of not appreciating the mission at hand. This could be a little gamemanship, since we come to realize since they served together before, and he keeps her picture up on the wall.
Right.
So I get a sense that he thinks that he's not quite as accomplished as her. I don't know. I could be reaching a little bit. But he has an upper hand, and who knows you mentioned a competition between the two in the past. So maybe this is saying, your people, that she's not quite as good a captain.
Right.
Aren't taking this seriously. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I noticed that they, when they had the two ships together, the Cerritos has got the yellow stripe on the saucer section, and the Merced had a blue one. So it's, I guess, Cerritos is more engineering and the Merced is more science, maybe?
Yeah, maybe. That's the way I read it, too.
Right.
And as a science ship, I guess you're not spacefaring as often, perhaps. Maybe just get assignments.
Right.
And you have fitness assignments and it's back to space dock or whatever. I guess. I don't know. But of course, Freeman assures him that the crew is the finest in Starfleet. That's pretty amazing. She says that every episode.
Right.
Or at least she hopes it's the finest. We're a laughing stock.
Yeah.
Which one is it? So, but that really sets her off. She's trying to figure out a way to get Mariner off the ship without raising the ire of her husband/admiral who got her in there in the first place. So Ransom has the solution. I'm going to assign Mariner all the nastiest jobs in the ship. You know what I thought, Carol? Was going to assign Mariner to Ransom.
Right.
Especially considering the last episode. You want to see an eye roll out of Mariner. I thought that would have driven her absolutely crazy.
True.
Yeah. Especially when he has to rip his shirt off and make a speech. I know. This again. So we move along. The story goes to the lower deck quarters and the crew is getting their assigned task for the day. And it made me think, Steve, do they have any crew members that aren't officers on this ship? There's some pretty menial tasks. Boimler gets all psyched up about cleaning the ship's conference room because he's happy to get food and the replicator, and he can hang out and hear some of the senior officers gossip up there. But I don't know. I think everyone we've seen is an officer. It makes you wonder if they have any rank and file to the ship. Why would officers be using phasers to clean carbon? Off of carbon filter. First of all, shouldn't that be doing it itself?
Right.
And can't you get like a sailor? Just a crewman?
Right.
Crewman?
Red shirt.
Yeah. Yeah, really. This is your job anyway. They should get a red shirt and put one of those, brush around them, make them crawl through all the tubes just to clean up the stuff. That would be a Richard's job.
Right.
Have we? I don't think we've seen any regular crewmen, have we?
No, not yet.
And they're about as low as
because they're an engineering ship. Now, you would still think every ship would have red shirt crew, but I haven't seen one yet.
Well, when the warp core was going crazy, that was the last episode or the one before. We saw a lot of people in engineering, running around in a pure panic. So maybe those were all regular crewmen, but I didn't notice they had pips on their collar. Okay, I'm obsessing. So Mariner can't help but feel suspicious. She's getting some of the worst jobs on the ship.
Well, of course.
Turns out cleaning out the holodeck is gross because we all know what people are doing on the holodeck. This is gross. And, Captain's like, what? And
Ransom goes, yeah,
Ransom's
that.
like, yep. Oh. Anyway, Mariner, or Beckett, as she oftentimes called, figures out a way to turn drudgery into a fun competition, which Ransom spots, by the way.
Yeah.
She's injecting joy into these horrible tasks she's been giving.
Now, it was funny when she was, lubing the turbo lift and had the sign up, and Jax just tears it down and goes.
Yeah, I know. Dismissive. I don't care. Sorry.
Yeah.
Working up here.
There for some reason.
Yeah. Oh my God. I can't tell you how many times people have gone past signs where I work, like wet paint or whatever, or wet floor or whatever. Oh, that doesn't mean me, surely.
Yeah.
So Freeman's got a new plan, and it involves to promote Mariner, which I thought was pretty clever, actually.
Yes.
And at the same time, does it not only it pisses off Mariner, but it blows Boimler's mind. He's like, what?
How could she get promoted over me?
That was a great little bit of voice acting, too, because you could say he's absolutely broken to his core, to his warp core.
Oh, yeah.
And he just doesn't get it. These are pretty simple drawings or animations, but they do the eye crinkle and the lip curl, and one eye will bug out or whatever. And you can tell that he's in an absolute panic internally, at least.
Yes.
Pretty clever.
Very well done.
Yeah. So this dummy learns Boimler. He learns the wrong lesson. He's jealous of Mariner's promotion, decides to break some rules of his own.
Yes.
And he's going to get a promotion for doing this. God. At the same time, Mariner calls out Freeman, Carol, on her plan for her transfer. And speaking of family squabbles, Durango decides to move the Merced closer. I should have looked at that. Wonder why they named it Merced. Sounds familiar.
That's another town in California.
Oh, of course, then.
They're both California-class ships.
Right, goodness. So he gets in his head to move the Merced closer to the generation, which causes a breach in the generation ship's hull. You can see the plating starting to crack there. I'm sure that happens in space. And it starts spilling terraforming fluid into space and onto the ships, which is one of the great comedic bits of this show. It had a lot of... I was looking at my top 5, and I'm like, how am I supposed to come up with top 5? Some of these are so close.
Right.
Yeah, some of them are so close, I was going to put okay, this is tied for third. This is tied for second.
3A, 3B.
Yeah. So in the midst of all this and plant life growing and going crazy throughout the ship, and as usual, instead of being cool-minded in a disaster, the crew goes absolutely crazy. They don't handle anything with a plum. But it gives a chance for Carol and Mariner to work together to save the ship, arguing the whole way, which is also classic, too.
Yes.
It was almost like these two were mother and daughter, and they find ways
absolutely.
to stick it to each other. And that's when he calls her Carol. Don't call me Carol. Carol, I know. Oh, so good.
Dick move.
I know, because it was a dick move. Good grief.
Who can get away telling their captain that they just had...
Did she? Was that the first time she called her mom?
Yes.
Aha. Yeah. Wow. That was awesome.
Yes.
So they find a way, and even when they're rappelling down, the ship is turned into the great outdoors.
Right, because it was
complete with waterfalls and
water.
Yeah,
you get a whole planet's worth of ecosystem out of this
That's
fluid.
So great. It's kind of like, I know we're going to refer to this later.
Yes.
But
Genesis
Genesis, when you go inside there, when they're the first example of it, there's waterfalls and everything else. It's like paradise. Eventually, they make it back to Starbase with the Generation ship, and the previously transformed shield gets cleaned up pretty quickly. Yeah, speaking of reset buttons, Mariner mashes on her own by insulting the Admiral. Of course, she found her way.
Oh,
Did you notice that her hair changed as soon as she got her promotion, too?
Right, yes.
Yeah. She has to be more mature. No!
Yeah.
So there's almost too many jokes in there. But I've got a few.
Yeah.
I've got a few that we can hit on later.
Yeah. And of course, it was great. Boimler's big plan was to
Oh, yeah, right.
spill coffee on Ransom.
I know. In the middle of a disaster, he goes up and gets him right in the groin.
Yeah.
Are you out of your mind?
Oh, that was hilarious.
Yeah. He's so obvious, too. He goes, oops. He just chucks it at his crotch.
And
Oh,
then
man.
we get the most comedic part of the B story is
Yeah.
good old Tendi getting her own episode, starting with
Yeah, was
her excitedly attending an ascension ceremony.
Oh, yeah. It was her turn to be a little scattershot
Oh, yeah.
in this episode.
Yeah, most definitely.
We've seen her nervous before, but I think she upped it.
Oh, definitely. She has just got unbridled enthusiasm to watch this happen. She goes to Lieutenant O'Connor's quarters, sits down, but then gets distracted.
Yeah, she sits down for what? A nanosecond or something. As soon as she sees the gong, she goes,
Right.
ooh. Oh, she's like a little kid.
Yes. And of course, she knocks it down and trying to save it, she dives into the sand that the O'Connor had been spent 2 years building.
I know. Even though she was so frantic, she orders some room temperature colored sand and she cups it in her hands and pours it into a mound. There you go. There you go. All set.
Now, of course, this just transforms O'Connor into a big ball of anger.
Nah.
Of course, she's become a woman on a mission, determined to get O'Connor back to the ascension track, whether he wants it or not.
Oh, I know. She becomes obsessive.
Oh,
with it.
absolutely.
She can't stand someone not being her friend.
Declaring she's going to blow him away with spirituality, even trying to marry and bug.
Yeah.
Sneaky callback there.
Yeah.
Of course, O'Connor is just not having any of it. And he tells her, you don't get to be the hero because you're the villain.
Oh, I know. That had to hurt.
Yeah.
Never wants to be the villain in anything.
No. Of course, they end up getting stuck in engineering as the Cerritos starts going through the transformation. And of course, we have some heroic escaping and selfless life-saving as Tendi gets some of that coral to break open a wall. And then O'Connor saves Tendi from a falling rock. And
I know. That is so classic. You can see that on every show. Someone gets pinned. It's okay.
Yes.
Save yourself.
Pairs share a kiss before O'Connor's ascension finally kicks in, surprising him as much as it does her.
Oh my God. That was so funny.
Oh, it was.
So hilarious. It was so over the top.
Yes.
In other shows, we've seen these ascensions also. And this was pure Star Trek, too, because it was so otherworldly and spiritual at the same time. And
Right.
But then it turns it on its head by making it hurt and
Yeah.
burn. Careful what you wish for, right?
And of course, he mentions he can see Abraham Lincoln.
Oh, my God.
Another
That was so funny.
Callback to the original series.
Yeah. I can see Abraham Lincoln.
Having the universe balanced on a giant smiling koala.
I know. Like, that made sense. That was so crazy. Things glowing around him and it's turning him into a bird. And you can see the koala, too.
Yeah.
You're like, why? Why? It was absolutely over the top hilarious. They didn't miss a beat on this episode.
No. Back in the lower deck crew quarters, Tendi and Rutherford are discussing O'Connor's ascension. Tendi says she realizes that life is too short to be hung up on whether or not everyone likes her.
Yeah.
And,
She had her own ascension there.
briefly.
Yeah, briefly.
Of course,
More gr-
Rutherford,
Yep.
with his lack of social skills,
God.
is happy that she sees this and says there will always be a few people on the Cerritos that probably don't like her. That just sets her off again.
Yeah. Who doesn't like me?
She trying to bend his leg backwards to get him to tell
Yeah.
who.
Man, I don't know how they're going to top this episode.
It won't
Maybe.
be easy.
Oh. They're going to have to, I guess they'll have to reach in a different direction or something like that. I don't know. It's so funny.
Yeah. So we got all kinds of Easter eggs in this episode. I mean, they still managed to do it. They were more subtle, and it wasn't just out there. I mean, one of Rutherford's comments was right out there, but most of it was more subtle, which was really great.
Quick and clever.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, let's see. Let's go over a few Easter eggs, some boomer talk, and top 5 jokes. Captain Durango, the Tellarite. There was something familiar about Durango, too.
Right.
Did that ring a bell with you?
No, I don't think so.
No, I don't know. It seems an odd name for a Tellarite. Durango.
Right, that is true. That is true.
I don't know. I'm sure there's something there. Someone can tell us.
Yep.
Anyway, Tellarites were warp-capable, involved in interstellar communication by the 20th century. In 1957, a Tellarite freighter picked up a distress call of a Vulcan ship that had crash-landed on Earth near Carbon Creek, Pennsylvania. They passed this information on to Vulcan High Command in the episode Carbon Creek. Pretty cool.
Yes.
That's going way back there.
Yes.
And the home planet is called Tellar. And in 2161, along with its old war allies of Earth, Andorra, and Vulcan, founded the United Federation of Planets in San Francisco on Earth. Everything's on Earth. And established a joint Starfleet. And we had that in 0 Hour, and in Next Generation, The Outcast, First Duty, DS9, and Inquisition. As a result, Tellar Prime held a seat on the Federation Council, and Tellarites served as Starfleet officers, including aboard the USS Discovery. And speaking of Discovery, that was Red Angel. I like that Red Angel storyline.
Yeah.
And in the high-rank position as flag officers, an example would be Admiral Gorsh in 2257, Discovery, Will You Take My Hand episode, Star Trek IV, The Voyage Home, and DS9, Apocalypse Rising. So, again, apologies to all the Tellarites out there that I may have offended. Tendi mentioned the Tamarians, the children of Tama, also known as Tamarians, were alien race from the planet Sigma Tama 4. This is Alpha Ceti 5, whatever. They first encountered by the Federation in the mid-23rd century. Tons to crack open in this episode, Steve. In 2368, a Tamarian ship sent a general hail towards Federation space, a standard mathematical progression, intercepted a request for communication. Rutherford would have had a field day with that. Ooh, ooh, ooh.
Yes.
So exciting. The Enterprise D was dispatched to El Adrel 4 to establish contact. While there, the Tamarian captain, Dathon, beamed himself and Enterprise Captain Jean-Luc Picard to the planet's surface in an attempt to establish a dialogue through the idea of Darmok and Jalad of Tangara, the idea of cooperation against an enemy, leading to a mutual understanding and friendship. Wow. They ought to come out with this thick, heavy Bible of
yes.
Star Trek canon. There's so much to know.
Oh, I know. But great episode.
Oh, yeah. And speaking of great episodes, this is one of my favorite. Boimler mentioned Moriarty, and for the second there, I think my heart skipped a beat.
Yes.
Moriarty.
Yes.
I remember Professor James Moriarty, played by Daniel Davis. And he was a hologram created by Geordie LaForge based on the fictional character of the same name. He was created for the Sherlock Holmes program 3A as an adversary capable of outwitting Data. Oh, I loved that. And I loved it when they returned to Moriarty, too.
Yes.
And they put him in there like a loop.
Yes.
To make it look like he actually got away.
Got off, yes.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So it turns out the holographic Moriarty served as the basis for the Doctor in Star Trek Voyager. He was incredibly enjoyable, too. He was so scientific and a bit cold, uncalculating, and also impatient because he's smarter than everybody else.
Yes.
Just like Moriarty. You can almost see him when he's like gets activated and someone tells him something. He's like, what is it now? We found out about this holographic Moriarty serving as the base of Doctor was evidenced by a specific note written by Jerry Taylor during the conceptual development of the series and dated back on July 30th, 1993. Not sure of the star date then. The note read, Hollow Moriarty. Further notes dated August 3rd, 1993 suggested that the holographic Doctor as a regular character who, like Moriarty, had an awareness of himself as a holodeck fiction. That's kind of cool.
Yes.
Yes, I know I'm fake.
Yes.
Michael
Then he
Chabon
actually became more than what he was.
Yeah. Oh, so great. When he starts taking over the ship. I know I'm going down memory lane here, but it was so great. Everyone out there who's listening, make sure you revisit those episodes.
Yes.
So Michael Chabon named Moriarty as a character he would like to include in Star Trek Picard. What?
Yes.
What?
Yes.
What do you suppose that would be all about? Like finding him out there? He's not really out there.
Right. But
he's not out in space. He's like in some type of container in his own little universe.
Right. But what if he did figure out that he was and managed to escape? Wouldn't that be amazing?
Or Picard goes to get him and says, well, I need him now.
Right,
Time to bring him back. And there he's in blissful retirement. He goes, what are you doing? You're interrupting my... yeah, sure, you're in the test tube. Oh, I can't tell you that. Anyway, most of the plot around Moist Vessel revolves around Captain Freeman, Mariner, and the crew having to deal with an ancient terraforming emulsion that leaked out of an ancient generational ship. You should be more careful with that stuff. And it's randomly creating different environments on the Cerritos, although the technology of terraforming emulsion is somewhat new for Star Trek canon. The idea of instant terraforming is not. The most famous terraforming tech is from the Trek canon on the Genesis device. See, I told you we'd get there. Which was introduced in Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan. The science behind the Genesis device was iffy. Somehow a transparent cylinder about the size of two trombone cases could totally reconstitute an ecosystem of an entire planet simply by detonating on said planet. At the end of Wrath of Khan, the Genesis device is detonated in a nebula, which apparently creates a planet from scratch. Hey, I bought it. I thought it was pretty exciting. It was appropriately named the Genesis planet. In Star Trek: The Search for Spock, we learned that the Genesis planet has all sorts of radically different biomes, all within walking distance of each other. In other words, like a fierce tundra right next to a jungle. This is never really explained, but visually we see terraforming emulsion creating a similar effect when it gets loose on the Cerritos. Suddenly there's a bunch of water and engineering while other parts of the ship seems to be spouting a crystalline structure. I thought it was going to stab people the way it was coming out. Basically, the visual Easter eggs in the entire Cerritos becomes a miniature version of the Genesis planet, which we discussed in the other. And it was so clever and it was so fun. At least I didn't know it's so easy to overdo something like that and just like making an eye roll.
Right.
No, they get the pacing perfectly.
Yes, they did.
Which brings us to the word that makes all of this 10 times better. When Mariner and Captain Freeman are climbing their way to safety, working as a mother-daughter Starfleet team, Mariner mocks her mom by using her first name. That's typical mother-daughter.
Oh yeah.
This is the first episode that Mariner says "Mom," ha ha ha. But having her say so, saying her first name is fantastic. We've all teased our parents by using their first name, and if you have kids, you know it's absurdly funny when your own child calls you by your first name.
Exactly.
And it steams Carol too.
Yes.
Instantly. I got my wife on the phone with her daughter today, and you could tell they were going back, and she had her on speaker, and they're like laughing at each other because you know what they're talking about? Their husbands, which is me.
Of course.
Man. The hilarious thing is that Freeman's first name is Carol. Mariner mentioned it twice for a fact. If you're thinking about the Genesis device for visual reference, you should already be thinking about the name Carol. That's because the person who created Genesis device was Dr. Carol Marcus. A clever little nod to that.
Yes.
I would hope.
Yeah.
I have to confess, I had a kind of a TV crush on Bibi Besh. She was perfect as Carol Marcus in that role. Typical love interest for Kirk. Speaking of love interest, she was the mother of David Marcus, who was the son of James T. Kirk.
Yes.
Yep. How'd that happen? Like Mariner and Freeman in this episode, Carol Marcus teamed up with her adult kid to deal with her terraforming tech. But more importantly, Carol Marcus is basically the mother of all terraforming within the Trek canon. Captain Janeway even referenced the work of Carol Marcus in the Voyager episode, The Omega Directive. In Star Trek Into Darkness, a younger version of Carol Marcus was played by Alice Eve, and ironically, the version of Carol Marcus was a Starfleet officer who had issues with her father, who was a Starfleet admiral named Alexander Marcus. I like Alice. I might have a little bit of a TV crush on Alice Eve, too.
Oh, absolutely.
So, such a great episode. I know. Yeah, I know. Good thing whatever happened in the holodeck stays in the holodeck.
Yes.
I don't know if that's good or bad. Maybe they should just find some type of dissolvent.
Yes. Probably did, and that's what all that green stuff was.
Oh, yuck. Gross. We got a cute little reminder of Q in The Traveler, too.
Yes.
Everybody knows Q, but The Traveler, wow. Not a big as or pronounced or famous a character as Q, but still important to transformation, no pun intended, of Wesley Crusher.
Absolutely, yes.
And apparently, the poker game on the Cerritos is so friendly that everyone always folds. That would grind my gears, too.
Oh, absolutely.
You know what you're going to do? You're going to fold. Go ahead and fold. I don't know. I fold. I think even Data would have a problem with that.
Oh, absolutely. Mariner goes all in, and Shaq goes, "You can't go all in. It's a friendly
I know,
game."
that's stupid. Yeah. and he shoves his pile in there. What are you doing? Or he shoves it back. That is dumb, though.
All right, let's get into your top 5.
All right, I'm going to start out with number 1.
Okay.
Some of the visual jokes are hilarious, and I just it killed me when Mariner rolls off her bed. She rolls it. She was so bored. She gets summoned again. It's killing her so badly. She couldn't even get herself up. She just rolls off her bed and rolls across the floor. I also love, right behind it was Boimler's live comms. But he secretly schemes to himself, and he had the end of the comms to still act like, what'd you say? Oh, no. Why doesn't that happen? Yeah, I know. You would think that would happen more often. The entire bridge could hear what he says,
Right.
I also like, in a show full of great gags, the coffee spill, I'm calling it, when Boimler walks up to him and tosses the coffee right in the crowd. What are you doing? Are you out of your mind? I know. He's so focused on being incompetent, he doesn't realize there's a 5-star disaster going on the ship, and he throws a cup of hot coffee in the first officer's crotch. Oh, God. Actually, number 4 for me was Not on My Watch, which is what Carol Freeman, this isn't. And Mariner reminds her, no, literally, this is your watch. We're doing it right now. This is your watch. It's like breaking the fourth barrier.
Right.
Like all those other shows we've seen, this is not happening on my watch. And you say to yourself, well, yeah, it is, because this is happening right now, but no one ever calls them out on it. Right. But in this show, they do.
Yeah.
Oh, and there was a great joke when both ships are getting covered with the carbon goo. It looks like kind of a sealant you can buy at the local Auberchin or something like that.
Right.
I need to fix this hole here, and you just squirt it in there. The computer calls out an unauthorized terraformation. You mean which is hilarious. Thanks, computer. No kidding. Right. First of all. And secondly, do you have authorized ones? Honorable mention goes to attendees were both jerks.
Yes.
Who wanted to be liked, and we lied about it.
And now I'm going to die with my best friend.
I know, and she hugs the guy. Actually, all these jokes were so sincere, they all worked. I can't think of a single joke that fell flat or didn't work.
No, even Freeman, when they get down to the area and set up the fix, even Freeman saying, hit it. And the computer comes back and says, hitting it. That was great.
Yeah. You might hear mention of that when I sign off in this episode. Honorable mention also goes to the mom and daughter fight in the classic Carol. Again, that poking the finger right in Mom's eye, who happens to be her mom and commanding officer, Carol.
Yes.
Awesome.
Yeah, this was, like you said, best episode so far, that's for sure.
I'm promoting it to lieutenant, giving it a gold shirt.
Well, we do have some feedback. Once again, our friend Fred from the Netherlands has provided us some feedback, so let's take a listen.
Hello, Steve and Dave. This is Fred from the Netherlands with some feedback for Star Trek Lower Decks Season 1, Episode 4. I did like the Captain Freeman, Ensign Mariner, or Lieutenant Mariner interaction. Also nice was the way how Boimler reacted to Mariner's promotion. And he tried to be bad because he thought that was the way to get a promotion. But actually it's not in his nature to do it like that. I did care less for the Tandy story. It was a little bit too much of neurotic behavior. What I didn't see coming is that Mariner at the end so misbehaved that she got demoted again. But if you see which tasks she had to do as a lieutenant, I can understand that. That was all for now. Greetings, all the best, Fred from the Netherlands.
What? That's it?
Wow, Fred.
What you do with our Fred? Where's the real Fred? Come back, Fred. I suppose Fred has a life too. Thanks for the feedback, Fred.
Oh,
you know what? If it wasn't for the Tandy stuff, we never would have got that glorious ascension in the end.
Right.
Koalas replete with koalas and Abraham Lincoln. We'll have to watch that.
I think that might have not meant as much to Fred being from the Netherlands. Not gotten those references quite as good well as we did.
I've heard tell this episode was extremely popular in Australia. Koala, you're killing me. We should hear from some of I'm going to have to get on that internet thingy and remind some of our friends from Australia, because we do have them.
Oh, yes, we do. Corey,
for feedback. Yeah, Corey. Beam up.
Yep. Simone.
Yeah, Simone.
Yeah, that was, we appreciate the feedback, Fred, and I'm glad you enjoyed the Freeman and Mariner interaction. That was.
I know what he's doing.
great.
He's cleaning carbon.
Yes.
That's why he had to clean carbon and empty all those vessels. Sorry about that, Fred.
Yeah. Well, we'd love to hear your thoughts on each and every episode this season and looking forward to interacting with you on social media. How can the fans interact with us, Dave?
You can go to www.fangirlzone.com and click on the contact link, where you'll find several ways to contact us via email and social media. On Twitter, there's @SawyerSteve. That would be Steve, not me, because I'm Dave and I'm at the Real ID Dave.
Please review and rate us on iTunes and every other platform you're listening to us on, as good ratings and reviews help other fans of the show find us, as there are a lot of Star Trek Lower Deck podcasts out there. Tell your friends, and we hope you're enjoying our podcasts, and don't forget to check out the other great Fangirl Zone podcasts.
Yeah, we can tell if you're mad at us and you promote us to a lieutenant.
Yes.
The 5th episode is on September 3rd. Can you believe that, Steve?
Yeah.
September 3rd, you're right around the corner. It's titled A Whole Bunch of Question Marks.
Yeah. They haven't released the title.
That's weird.
Yet. Yes, it is.
Oh, I hope there's something cool behind that.
You would think so. There's got to be an awful big reason for them not releasing the titles.
I hope they just begin the show and there is no title and we're like, oh, that would be so spooky.
Yes.
Of course, that sounds more like me than them. So
yeah.
I'm projecting.
This is Chief Engineer Steve. Those are the worst jobs on the ship. Scraping carbon off of slightly harder carbon, that's Klingon prison stuff.
That was a good line, too. And I'm the newly promoted redshirt Dave. And I'm hitting it, man. I'm hitting it so hard. Not the way you're thinking.
Not the holodeck.
Don't make fun of me.